Let's talk about Smile 2. Firstly, let me just say I wasn't super thrilled about this movie getting a sequel because I was just so concerned on how you are able to even do that again, right? Because I just feel like the first one works so well because of the surprise and shock element that how do you do that again if we know that that's what is happening already throughout the entire movie? Now, I did open a PR box over on my TikTok. I have been doing 31 days of TikTok over there if you want even more like horror content from me. It has been a fun time. Let me just say I actually have been really enjoying posting every single day on TikTok. But as always, just because I got a PR box doesn't mean I was paid to say anything. My opinions are completely my own and can never be bought. I never do paid sponsorships or anything like that for specific movies. I do accept PR packages because they're cool. Look at the shirt. I mean, it's cool. About to embark on a new world tour, global pop sensation Sky Riley begins to experience increasingly terrifying and inexplicable events. Overwhelmed by the escalating horrors and pressures of fame, she must face her dark past to regain control of her life before it spirals out of control. Of course, we did already get like a pop superstar thriller movie in Trap earlier this year, and I just want to address that there's like no comparison here at all because they are completely different movies, and I was actually really nervous that Smile 2 would actually go the route that Trap did with the amount of like music and concert performances. I thought we were gonna be leaning a little bit towards that, but we did not. All of it was very appropriate, and yeah, it's just not anything like Trap. So if you think it's like a repeat movie or similar in any way, it's not. Now, I'm gonna say right off the bat that this is one of those rare occasions where I think the sequel is better than the original. I liked Smile 2 more than the first Smile. Now, nothing will ever compare to the reveal in the original movie towards the end, of course. That is just iconic, and jaw on the floor for like 10 minutes straight. Like, that saved that entire movie. I actually did not like Smile, the first one, throughout a significant amount until we get to a certain point with the reveal and everything in the end, especially learning it's all practical and things. So it doesn't compare in that sense. Like, the impact is not necessarily the same, but I do think Smile 2 is the better movie of the two. I think the scares in Smile 2 were scarier, first of all. I think there was more horror in this than the first one, and a little bit less of like the cliche type of jump scares, and instead had really good jump scares that were really effective, had really great follow through. And in general, I just feel like the scares in Smile 2 were better. I think they took this movie a little bit more seriously than the first Smile. Something about it felt very camp for a lot of it, and I really hoped that that was intentional because that was the reason why I didn't really like the first Smile for a portion, because it just felt like every other horror movie relying on jump scares and just, you know, being a little bit campy with the horror elements in that. But I feel like Smile 2 strayed from that a little bit and was just a really great sequel. I think it was a really great continuation of the story. I feel like there's a lot of avenues to go from when it comes to this concept. I did see one critic review say that this movie was just recycling what was already done in the first Smile, which I completely disagree. I don't think it was recycling the same old. I feel like it was really original because it is still the continuation of the story, so we know kind of what to expect, but I feel like they did do new things with it. Like, I don't know how you can watch certain scenes, like the closet scene, for instance, and think that that's like the same thing that they did in the first one, because it's not. It felt like a sequel, so naturally it's going to have similar elements. There's going to be similar playouts as far as the storyline goes, but it's because it's a sequel. Any sequel does that. Any sequel is going to have inspired scenes from the original. Like, that's just how a sequel goes. It's not going to be a brand new movie because it's not. I think it was a really fresh take, and I think it does distinguish itself from the first one because this is a concept that is like, once it's been done, it's kind of difficult to do it again and again. And I don't know if they're going to be doing any more. And to be honest, I kind of hope that they don't, because then it would just get a little bit, I don't know, a little bit out of hand, more cliche, I feel like, and how many times can we really play out the same kind of story? I feel like the way that Smile 2 ends is horrifying, and I think it is the perfect ending to this story, and we do not need to push it anymore. Like, Smile should just be complete with the 2 movies, because I love the way this movie ended. However, I did kind of see it coming. I did kind of think that that's where it was gonna go. But I felt like they put so much more into this movie than they did the first one. I think the first one is a great, like, popcorn horror movie, you know what I mean? Like, the fun kind of jump scares that you watch at a party, everyone jumps, spills their popcorn, things like that. And then with Smile 2, you get a lot more into the story. I feel like there's way more intensity because we are so connected with Sky Riley as a character. We get so much more backstory, and we're focused really on this one character. And we did do that in the first one, but I feel like there wasn't as much personality there with that movie, and Smile 2 really just injected so much story and so much personality into the story that I felt so connected and I was so into it every step of the way. The tension in this movie was insane to me. Like, I don't find the Smile movies that scary. There's, you know, one scene in the movies that is scary to me, but generally I don't find the jump scares like scary as far as like what I find horrifying, if that makes sense. So to me, these aren't like super scary movies, but that being said, the tension and the suspense throughout was so intense for me. Even in scenes where we know what the outcome is, I felt like they just ramped up the tension as much as they could. And even though we knew it was going to happen, it was like, we are waiting and waiting and waiting for it to play out. I just think what Parker Finn did with these stories is exactly how you do like fun popcorn movies while still maintaining a really good story and keeping it really scary while also keeping it entertaining at the same time. So it's not so dire like Longlegs, where it's just like miserable and uncomfortable. And while there are similar scenes in Longlegs and Smile 2, it doesn't have that weight behind it, because they're still entertaining movies, whereas Longlegs unrewatchable to me, right? I loved that movie, 5 stars, but I'm not going to like rush out to rewatch that movie, whereas Smile are like fun kind of popcorn horror movies in a really great way with a lot of good story. Unlike what Blumhouse thinks that his movies are what these movies are. You know what I mean? Like, what Blumhouse has turned into in recent years is like the opposite. They just want the jump scares and like really, really cheesy cheese. And because this has such a strong story, as things progressively get like worse and worse for Sky, the tension is just ramping up so much, and it goes in directions I wasn't expecting. This movie feels like it should be predictable along the way, and it sets you up for certain things that you think is very obvious of what's going to happen, especially some of the jump scares. You think one thing is going to happen, so you're expecting something, and then it blindsides you by doing something completely different. And I really, really liked that because it was unexpected along the way, and my jaw dropped multiple times while watching Smile 2. Like I said, I knew that they were going to go that route in the end, like the very end scene. I just didn't know how they were going to get there, because obviously the way the story was progressing, I was like, how are we going to get to this point in the story? Because I knew it was happening. I knew it was what was going to happen. I really wanted more from that ending though. Like, if I had to critique it, I really wanted more. I wanted more visually. I feel like they held back so much, and I did read that CGI was used in this. So that is my other criticism, is the CGI, especially CGI blood. I don't understand what it is with these high budget movies using CGI blood. I watched Joker 2 and they use CGI in that as well. And I'm like, fake blood is probably one of the cheapest materials to work with when it comes to horror movies. Like, you could make it, you could DIY it. It's pretty affordable, I feel like, and like mechanisms in order to make people appear to be bleeding. Why are we not doing that anymore? Why are we using CGI for blood? I thought that was like bare minimum. You could at least do that practically. So that part I really didn't like as well. The CGI blood in this, not great. I don't know if like the ending was actually CGI or if they did do practical again, but I don't really know. So I feel like the movies kind of switched for me. So Smile 2 is the better movie. It has a better story, better tension, better horror, better scares, better jump scares, everything. Really, really good. And then it kind of falls flat a little bit in the end for me, whereas the first Smile is the complete opposite. So the first Smile's ending is better, but Smile 2 is the better movie, if that makes sense. Because the reveal is everything, and unfortunately you can't really recreate that as much as, you know, they can try to do that. It's just, you gotta put the work into the rest of the movie, and they did, so I was really happy with that. Now, the performance of Naomi Scott was absolutely perfection. Like, both my partner and I were really blown away by her performance when she would like yell at her mom or something. It just felt so believable. I believed every aspect of her character and her portrayal of it. She did say that she was inspired by Lady Gaga for her character, but she was just overall the perfect actor to play this role, I think. And of course, we have the small role of Jack Nicholson's son, Ray, in this. And his scene, specifically the scene in the car, was one of my favorite scenes in the entire movie, because that was one of the scenes that they put in so much tension. And that's one of the scenes where we know the outcome already, yet it is the most tense and the most suspenseful, horrific scene of anticipation. Like, he was great. I would love to see Ray Nicholson in more things, especially horror, but you know, no pressure. His dad did it. I'm not gonna say he should do it, but he's perfect for it. And I have to talk about the jump scares. I already mentioned them a little bit. The jump scares are perfect. I actually am changing my opinion a little bit on jump scares because of a couple of movies that have come out in 2024. Oddity had some of my favorite jump scares in any movie, and now Smile 2 had perfect jump scares. Like, that is how you do jump scares, with a good follow through. They're not pointless, and they just add to the horror of the movie instead of just like increasing your heart rate for the purpose of nothing. Like, we're looking at nothing and you made us alarmed for what, you know? I didn't love the jump scares as much in the first Smile. I think they were really campy, cliche kind of horror jump scares, but this one, I feel like he got really creative with them, and I just loved a lot of the visuals in this. Now, the best part of this movie is the editing of this movie. Now, you wouldn't think a scene where the camera is flipped upside down is very creative. We've seen that a million times probably by now, but something about it intertwined with the story of Smile 2 specifically worked so well, because it flips a couple times, and those couple times were very significant points within the story. And I loved that. I thought it was a very cool artistic choice to like portray what is happening in the story. So loved that. I loved the editing in general. And the score, I feel like they did some really weird, like distorted singing in the background of some of the scenes that was just so cool. And I just want to listen to the score over and over again, like just casually, because it is so good. I actually really, really love that I'm being proven wrong this year. Like, I'm going to eat my words and say that prequels, remakes, sequels aren't the worst thing in the world, okay? Normally my first reaction is, please no, can we do something new? And we've been getting a lot of new, so maybe that's why I'm okay with all of the prequels and sequels coming out this year. But this year specifically, of prequels and remakes and sequels, oh my God. I believe fully that 2024 is one of the best years of horror, and when we look back on this time in the early 2020s, we're gonna have nostalgia for it. We're gonna be like, wow, that was a really great era of horror. I just feel like this is the time, man. I cannot wait to do my end of the year content for all of these movies. I'm still planning all of that out. I'm not really sure what kind of content. I usually do best and worst, but I've been watching so many movies that I want to do like best and worst of all of the movies that I've watched this year, not just the new 2024 horror movies. So let me know if you have any ideas for what type of content I could do, like a tier list of all the movies I watched this year. My goal is 100, so we're trucking away along with that. But there's just been so many incredible movies this year that it makes me so excited. And we're not even done yet. We still have Heretic and Nosferatu and a couple other ones that I'm really excited about, and a lot of streaming ones that have been really good this year too. So I'm just very excited to be a horror fan this year. I would love to hear your thoughts on Smile 2. Did you like it more or less than the original Smile? Leave all your thoughts down below. I hope you enjoyed, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.